I really don't have any injuries to talk about other than Patrick's, and he's in protocol there. So, and we'll just follow that and see how he does here the next couple of days. So with that, we'll talk a little bit about the game. I had a chance to look at it on tape and review it. I sure like the effort of the players. I thought they came out and played 4 quarters of good aggressive football. I like the summarizing it. I like the game plans that both coordinators had and Dave had on special teams. I thought the defensive scheme that Spags put together against what I thought was a very explosive offense, both in the run and the pass game, was tremendous. I thought the players played and challenged that way. They had a lot of confidence in the game plan. Badger had the interception. Big Chris had that last series that, he just bared down and did some beautiful things. Dan's tackle which created a safety there. I mean, that was a great job by him, and so on. So anyways, there were a bunch of personal things that came through. Snead, I thought, for being in his first playoff game, I thought he did a nice job as a young guy. So all positive things. On the offensive side, Patrick was actually having a really good game up until that point. I thought our offensive line did a nice job against what I thought was the strength of that defense and that front. And so they bared down and got the run game going early, and we had a nice little mix going there. And then obviously when Pat goes out, now Chad comes in, and I was proud of all the guys around Chad that had that confidence in him. I told you Chad mentioned that to the team as he broke the team down after the game. So, but I thought Chad played with great composure, particularly for that situation. Then for it to come down to the last series there, the big run that he had was great. He dusted off those old legs and got him moving a little bit. Came up a hair short, and then came back and made a nice throw to Tyreek to clinch it. Anyways, I thought all the coaches had input, not only in the game plan, but also during the game on both sides of the ball. There was great communication on the defensive side. Offensively, I was part of that, just with talking and, between EB, Mike Kafka, Joe Blameyer, Greg Lewis, Tom Melvin, all those guys, D-Lind, everybody was talking and giving input that was productive. And so I just, again, really appreciated that. When it came down to the last minute of the game, when sometimes people can go silent on the headset, there was good communication there. And I mentioned that Joe gave a heads up when it was the call prior to the throw that, listen, we might, it was actually the play that Chad ran it, but listen, we might need a fourth down call if you decide to go that way. You get a potential big call coming up here, coach. So, one of those deals. So he gave me a nice heads up. And then Mike Kafka reminded me that of what the quarterbacks had on their script the night before on 4th and 1 to win the game. And EB gave me the thumbs up. I mean, so everybody was involved. It was, and that's really what it's all about. We'll need that same thing, obviously, coming up this week against a great Buffalo team. So, and I'm honored that we're able to play in front of our home crowd, and I know they'll be out of their minds and help lead us on through this game. So, again, much appreciated all the fan support. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Let's go first to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam. Hey, Andy, regarding the decision to go for it on fourth down, you've made that same decision in similar circumstances, obviously, several times this year now. Has your philosophy, your thoughts on trying to convert on fourth down in those situations changed at all over the years? And Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up as well.
Well, listen, I think all of us as coaches, offensive coaches or head coaches, whoever is making that decision for that team, would tell you that the philosophy hasn't necessarily changed, but you're going to evaluate things that might change around your thinking. So maybe it's, your football team and the quality of players that you have, and then at that moment, how are you feeling about that situation at that particular time in the game, and so on. I mean, there are a few things that go into that. So I would tell you that obviously this team this offense is a veteran group of guys, and I've got trust in them, and so I just felt that it was okay to go there. I mean, I had another situation down earlier that we didn't go, and we attempted a field goal. So there's a time and a place for everything, and you just try to have a feel on that the best you can.
All right. And when you do convert, lately you've been trying to throw the ball. When did 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 become a throwing down?
Well, I went to BYU, so every down's a throwing down. I mean, that's how that goes. I was educated that way by LaBelle Edwards, and throw any time, any place, and try to keep a little bit of that with me as I've gone forward. So I think if you have confidence in it, Adam, that it's really no different than the run. I mean, you're in today's world. So anyways, I feel good about it.
Let's go next to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. I was getting ready to say good morning. Good afternoon. You've been around a lot of players who have been concussed before in your career. And obviously there are some days that we're going to have to wade through here. But based on your experience, what is your optimism level that you will have Mahomes available potentially for practice and even for the game? And Brad, I'll have another question.
Yeah. So listen, I mean, Herbie, I just leave that with Rick and the docs, and because of the protocol, it's a no-brainer from the coach's standpoint. You don't have to think about it. You just have to go forward and make sure you have an answer if he's there, and an answer if he's not there. I can't tell you from a medical standpoint where he's at. I mean, I don't know that. So that's their decision, and I just follow it. So.
Okay. And then, Coach, yesterday the CBS broadcast caught a little interaction on the sidelines between Tyreek Hill and then wide receivers coach Greg Lewis. I'm curious if you saw that, and what did you say to Tyreek after the game?
Yeah, that was they were messing around. It wasn't like that was not I know how it came off, but if you know that if you look at 2 minutes or a minute later, 30 seconds later, whatever it was, they're laughing over there. So that wasn't that's a great room right there. And those guys are very close, and they're lucky to have Greg, and they all know that. So he's been there, done that. He's got a great feel for those guys, and I think if you talk to both of them, they tell you that they were just messing around with it. So
let's go next to Bob Fesco. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Andy, what was I guess maybe the deciding factor that made you decide Chad Henne was the right guy for backup for you guys when you signed him a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so listen, I mean, it came down to both those guys, both Chad and Matt. We're lucky to have both of them. And it was almost a flip of a coin. Both of them had strengths that we liked, and Chad. Not that I mean, both guys have been successful here, so I don't want to compare the two. I want to just tell you that I think Chad's strengths are he's a tremendous leader. He's been there as a starter, and he's been there as a backup, and I watched what he did as a backup and how he handled those situations that he was in, and I thought he did that well. And I thought it'd be a great fit for a young quarterback like Pat to have a good support unit that had some experience.
Let's go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Andy, this may be secondarily on the injury with Patrick, but he did suffer what appeared to be a toe injury in the first half. Is there any update on that injury and how that may play a role if he is allowed to practice, if he is clear from the protocol?
Yeah, I think he'll be okay there for right now, Nate, with the toe part. Yeah, I think we'll be all right there.
Let's go next to Vahe Gregorian. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Andy. Brad, I'll have a follow-up after the first question. Andy, yesterday you seemed really just moved, actually, by how the team picked it up when Patrick was hurt. I wonder what that tells you could expect out of the mindset next week if Patrick can't play. And then, Brad, I'll have that follow-up.
Yeah, listen, I mean, all the guys have confidence in Chad. I mean, it was if he has to be in there, just like they did Matt the year before, and it's the way those guys handle themselves, and so I don't think that wouldn't change if he has to play. I mean, I don't think twice about that. I just if Pat can't go, then Chad jumps in and rolls.
And the other thing, Andy, obviously the running game is part of Patrick's game, and it's important. I just wonder how do you process the risk reward in situations with Patrick and the run? I mean, obviously it's hindsight that he got hurt, but what goes into your decision making?
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, listen, it happens. It just hasn't happened much to him over time here, so that'll still be part of the game. Depending on what the play is as we go down the road. Let's just see how things work out this week for him. See how it works.
Let's go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
And Brad, I'll have a follow-up as well here, just to kind of go a little bit further on that. Can you I don't believe you've run the quarterback sneak since Patrick was hurt in the game in Denver with the kneecap. There are a lot of people wondering what's the difference between risking in a sneak versus being okay in the option. Is it a play that generally you think is safer, gives him more chance to protect himself? Is there a difference between the safety issue and those types of different plays, those types of quarterback run plays?
Yeah, so Serena, get you a little bit more out in space. The ones that we use here, as opposed to going up the middle and just stating the obvious, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then secondarily, I know the protocols take over and all the doctors do all that. Is there if he were cleared on a Sunday morning, having no practices, would he be able to play, or is there a certain point during the week where you, maybe not publicly, but you in your head say, okay, he's missed too much and he's out and we're going with Chad?
Well, I'd hate to say it publicly.
Well, I know you wouldn't.
But listen, I'll have to evaluate that as we go forward. Let's just see how this whole thing rolls.
Let's go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy. Last night after the game, you used the term intestinal fortitude, right, to describe what you were really proud of in the way that game ended. You guys have the whole season has been close wins like that, right? I'm just wondering, in your experience, how rare or common is it to have a team that has this level of whatever that is, intestinal fortitude?
I'm glad you didn't have me define intestinal fortitude. I was worried that you were going there. So, yeah, I think it's unique. It's a unique characteristic to have, and this crew's done that. They have trust in each other to get that done. Now, rather have it not have to be that way and bigger leads, but the bottom line is, that you attempt to win the football game and do it the best way you can against great competition in this league. So at times you're going to have to reach down and just reach a little deeper and really, whatever that term is, to get in there and use that intestinal fortitude. So to get you over the hump. So, and most of it ends up being trusting guys around you and then strain to make the play a little bit better. And that's what our guys have done to this point.
Got four more. We'll go right down the line, starting with Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron.
Coach, you were around when the NFL kind of revamped the concussion protocol back in 2017. What's different now than I guess before then? Is it harder to get your hands around those guys and kind of prepare them? What's different on you guys' end?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a chance, back in the day that Patrick comes in. I mean, comes back in, and this is a way of protecting, I think, the player most of all, also protecting the trainer and doctors that are having to make decisions there. So, that's I think it's a plus all the way around. I think Patrick could tell you. I mean, you saw him run up the tunnel, and by the time he got to that point, he was feeling pretty good. So, but there's a certain protocol that you have to follow, and that takes it out of the trainer's hand and player's hand and doctor's hand.
Go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Brad, I'll have a real quick follow to this. But Andy, you said last night that Patrick passed all the deals. Does that mean that he was or was not diagnosed with a concussion, and that it was an independent doctor's decision or the team's decision not to put him back in?
Yeah, so he didn't. Yeah, he passed it. But when you still have to go through all the protocol. There's a day-to-day plan on that and how they go about it. So especially if a player staggers right there, and they've got to go through some things. So that ends up being important.
And then I'm sure you've chatted with him today, even though he hasn't been in the facility. What's the message as far as how he's feeling today?
Well, he felt good enough not to have to do a press conference.
We'll go next to Michelle Steele. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hey, Coach. You've talked about Eric Bieniemy in the past, I know, and his role in the Chiefs' run of success. Is it confounding to you maybe that we're in another hiring cycle and he just hasn't gotten that opportunity yet to be a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows what I think of Eric and what kind of head coach I think he'd be. And maybe the best thing I can tell you is I hope he goes to the NFC when he has that opportunity. But whoever gets him, I think is a very lucky organization. Somebody that I've come across, one of the few people I've come across that has the leadership skills that he has, the ability to lead men in this crazy game that we're in. And for those guys, through his leadership, to play at a Pro Bowl level. And so when he gets his hands on you, figuratively, he does wonders with athletes, and he's able to maximize their abilities on the field, and he gives them that extra boost to be a productive person off the field, and somebody that I would love my son to have played for.
And we'll go last to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Brad, if you don't mind, I have just one quick thing after this. But Coach, I know this is a hypothetical right now, but if Chad has to go, from what you'd be willing to share, just how drastically might that change your strategic plan this weekend?
Yeah, so when we were in the game, there wasn't anything that I had to stay away from on this game plan. When Chad was in there, and I checked with EB and Mike on it, and they were comfortable. I checked with Chad on it. He said, just call it the way you had planned. So that's how we went about it as we sat down there and gathered our information.
And then my other thing was you mentioned Joe, and I believe that's Joe Blymeyer a lot this year. We know how you feel about Bieniemy and Kafka. How bright is his future based upon what he does day to day for you guys?
Yeah, nice, sharp. We're blessed with that. Corey Matei is another one who works with Andy Heck and works with all that RPO game and does a great job there. Joe Blymeyer, Mike Kafka. I mean, these are all good young football coaches that are going to be coaching a long time, I think, in this league. So smart guys. And I don't want to slight, Greg Lewis and Thielen and Coach Hack. I probably don't talk enough about. He's a tremendous